Hey Gators, Keith here. Really quickly wanted to show you a few practical ways that I feel you could use in the classroom, both for announcements and teaching. And also remember, you can actually use the app as a virtual camera in Teams. So the view you're seeing of me right now could be the view that you would see in your Teams meeting, which could eliminate the need to being able to share a screen and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to give you kind of a practical way, something that I feel that I would use if I was using this in distance learning in the fall right now. And it's kind of similar to what I did in the spring with distance learning with just a different program. So if I was to use this, I'm going to go ahead and add in my screen here. And what I'm doing for this, just to let you know, is I'm using my iPad, and I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller here. I'm using my iPad and Keynote so that I can write on top of this as I'm going. So for this right here, it's just a quick little announcement page. If there are announcements, you could start off your meetings this way. And for this, I'm just saying, updates. I just made this up, but like I always do. And as I'm moving myself, it just helps out. Make sure to update your Teams. Make sure to update your OneNote and update your iPad OS and Mac OS over the break, just to make sure that everything is prepared and ready to go. Then, because this is on a Keynote slide deck, I just have everything all in one. So if I go to my next page, it's kind of like a mini mock math lesson that I have here. So I'm actually taking a third grade standard of multiplying a 2-digit by 1-digit number. And then I would just slide through my slide deck. And first off, we could start with our math focus points. Now you can see that I'm covering up part of what's there. So I'm just going to move myself over. And because we're on an iPad, I could zoom in and move that around as well as I'm talking. So that's just another practical thing you can do without having to have a whole bunch of different clicks and animations, is just on your iPad, just move the stuff around. Go over your math focus points. You could show your standards that you're going over if that's something that you do in your classroom normally. And then we can go into the actual math lesson. So for this one here, it's saying there are 4 runners on each relay team. How many runners are on 14 teams? So if I'm doing this live on a Teams meeting, I would have this up, and this is where I could be conversing with my students, asking them questions and getting feedback on it. And then if I go to my next slide, I just made it right here so that when I go to my iPad using my pen or crayon, whatever you're using, then you could ask them what is the number sentence. And hopefully the kids are going to say, well, we're going to have 14 times 4 equals, and we don't know. And we would talk about this, go through your whole lesson, set it up as the 14 times 4 if you're using the standard algorithm. And what's 4 times 4? It's 16. Carry the 1. And I just moved it and I lost all my stuff. And be aware of that because that does happen. So let's reset that up. 14 times 4, which is going to be 16. Carry your 110. 4 ones times 110 is 4 tens, plus another 10 is going to be 5 tens, and we get 56. Well, 56 what? So we would then put in, we have 56 runners. And circle it, or however you're going to do it. But again, we're doing this in real time, and it's over my shoulder. It looks like a YouTube video. Kids are going to love that. And then we just simply swipe to the next page. Here's our next question that we're going to have, and this could be the first one of your math assignment. There are 4 teams playing soccer on the park. There are 23 people on each team. How many people are playing soccer? And just like I had before with just some simple animations, move that along the side, and then we're able to go onto the screen and do the 23 times 4. 4 ones times 3 ones is going to be 12 ones, so I'm going to carry my 110. 4 ones times 2 tens is going to be 8 tens, plus 110 is 9 tens. So we're going to have 92 people at the park. Now, moving on, here's a different idea. If you're going to do a read aloud that you could do is, again, just in your keynote, just get this set up. I did screenshots. I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you could actually do this. So it's just an excerpt from Lemony Snicket's The Wide Window. I have the screenshots here. I go to the next page. There's the picture from the book, chapter 1. And I put the book on the screen right here. Now, what I could do, though, is I could make this full screen. I could remove myself from the picture, and then using the laser, if you didn't know much about these Baudelaire orphans and you saw them sitting on their suitcases at Damocles Dock, you might think that they were just bound for an exciting adventure. So you could throw that on there as well, and using the pointer tool, the laser, so that it can, or so that students can follow along, I should say. Now, the other way that we can do this, and I'm going to remove that background while I get there, is I'm going to just open up the notes, or not the notes, sorry, the books app in, sorry about that, in the iPad. And it's going to be the same thing, but the difference here is I can then swipe over, and you can see it's a little bit, it's smaller, not as easy to read. But within books, we could actually make the text larger and be able to follow along this way and move the page as we go. So again, hopefully those are a couple good ideas for, and I just removed myself there, my apologies, for doing announcements, math, and then a read aloud with that. I'm actually going to turn it over to Miller next, as she's going to show us some other ways that we can use this for some ELA uses. But before that, if you notice, my background is moving, and on the fly, you can actually change it to do all these cool different things, to do whichever themes that you want them to do, and have some fun with it. This one is kind of cool that you could do. And then this last one right here is kind of funny, where you have a dog just getting all the water off him. But anyway, I'm going to switch it over to Miss Miller. So Miss Miller, go ahead and have some fun.
Hi guys, so glad you're joining us here to watch this. We just think this is a really cool program and might help you with some engagement, as well as could be a time saver. So I'm going to do kind of an example vocabulary lesson here, and I'll talk a little bit about why I did what I did at the end. Hi guys, I am so excited you're here today with us. Do you see where I'm at? It's space. And do you know why I'm in space? I'm going to show you something. You're going to read a story next week called Let's Go to the Moon, and it takes place in space. But in order to understand the story, there's a few words we need to think about before we get reading. Are you ready? Our first word is think. Think. What do you think space is like? I wonder what space is like too, because I've never been there. Think. Our next word is bring. Spaceships can bring astronauts to space. I can think of a few things that you bring to school. Can you think of a few things that you bring to school? I bring my lunch and my backpack. How about you? Bring, the word is bring. And our final word is before. Astronauts practice flying before their trip. Take a really close look at this picture. This astronaut is not in space. This astronaut is in a pool. They must practice in the pool before they go to space. Before. All right, I'll take my teacher voice off. I added some music in the background just to kind of create the mood and get the kids excited to read their story after they go through the vocabulary. They talk a lot about in teacher training just creating novelty, and so I think this is one of the things that this program is really good at. I'm going to move into a blending board and we're going to take a look at that. Okay, now we're going to try some blending. Blending is kind of an experimental lesson on this platform. It's really important when kids are doing blending that they can really focus in on the letters and exactly the letters that you're talking about while you're blending. So again, this is a kind of an experimental format. I would also not necessarily recommend a moving background when you do blending. It can be distracting. I did just want to show you that that's an option. So we're going to pretend you've already talked about the sound spelling that you're going to be focused on for the day, and then I'll blend a couple words for you. Here we go. Boys and girls, are you ready to blend? Here we go. Here's the first sound. Ready? Blend. Next sound. Sound. Oh, we're going to blend them together. Oh. T. Let's do it all together. Note, note, note. Very good. Okay, so back to my coaching voice. You'll notice that that word disappeared before it went up into the box up top. That would be something I'd have to work on. All right, next word is, get ready. Sound. Sound. Oh. Blend. Oh. P. Get ready. Here we go. We're going to put it all together. Hope. 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 Very good. All right, guys. And then when you advance to the next slide, you'll see hope appears in the box up at the top. And that will allow you that when you finish blending each word, you can go back to the grid that you've created and do the kind of random word quiz that we do when we're done with the blending board. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and seeing what we're coming up with down in the swamp. We'd like to be as helpful as possible. So if you're interested in any part of this, let us know, and we are more than happy to have you down in the swamp. It does take a little bit of trial and error and building that muscle memory, but it's really cool. See you guys.